एज अ सिक्योरिटी प्रोफेशनल आपने सीसीटीवी कैमरास तो ज़रूर देखे होंगे एंड एज अ सिक्योरिटी प्रोफेशनल आपने गूगल से भी बहुत सारे सवालों के जवाब भी पूछे होंगे। तो व्हाट इफ आप अपने सीसीटीवी कैमरास से गूगल की तरह सवाल पूछ सकें? तो आपका सीसीटीवी कैमरा हो जाएगा ना सुपर डुपर पावरफुल। ऐसा ही कुछ सिस्टम बना रही है वॉजिक एआई एंड आज हम बात करने वाले हैं इसी वॉजिक एआई के फाउंडर से मिस्टर अरिजीत बिस्वास से। सो वेलकम टू दिस एपिसोड ऑफ द सिक्योरिटी टॉक शो बाय 360 PSA. Mr. Arijit is also an engineer, an MBA from the Indian School of Business and a two-time tech entrepreneur. देखिए, टेक्नोलॉजी का इंटीग्रेशन सिक्योरिटी में इनएविटेबल है, इसमें कोई डाउट नहीं है। तो अगर आप एक ऐसे सिक्योरिटी प्रोफेशनल हैं या एक प्राइवेट सिक्योरिटी एजेंसी ओनर हैं जो अपने आप को सिक्योरिटी में आने वाले टेक्नोलॉजी ड्रिवन फ्यूचर के लिए रेडी करना चाहते हैं, तो ये कॉन्वर्सेशन आपके लिए बहुत ही रिलेवेंट होगा। तो इसे एंड तक जरूर देखना एंड चलिए चलते हैं एपिसोड में। So Arijit, we'll directly jump into the conversation, right?
Sure.
Right. So what do you think has changed in the CCTV technology in the last 5 years? And next 5 years में आपको क्या लगता है कि ये CCTV technology कहाँ जाएगी?
Sure. So I'll tell you what has changed, right? So first thing is people have started looking at CCTV more than just a security device.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking at CCTV for other use cases as well. Like they're using CCTV for figuring out operations use cases, compliance. Earlier CCTV was just an audit tool.
Right.
Something wrong used to happen, then people used to go and search back the CCTV footage.
Right.
That is the principal fundamental of usage. Like people's perception of CCTV has changed. Second, cost has decreased. Electronics cost has decreased. The cost which earlier used to an IP CCTV camera used to cost like a 2 megapixel IP CCTV camera used to cost about 4,500 prior. Now it's about 2,200.
Right.
50% reduction in cost, right?
Right.
Internet has increased, like bandwidth has increased. There's internet everywhere. So connectivity, CCTV, last mile connectivity of CCTVs have also increased. Like that's, I guess, the biggest thing, the CCTV adoption. Like the quantum of CCTVs currently deployed in any physical space, that has increased tremendously. See, streaming of more CCTVs increased because of bandwidth, and the cost of CCTVs has also decreased further. And people have now started using CCTV not just as a security retrospective audit tool, but for more proactive other sorts of intelligence, not just security purposes.
Right. So basically what you're saying is that on one hand, the demand of course has gone up because as you said that the CCTV usage has transcended the use case of just security.
Yeah.
Now it has gotten into ops and other things. And side by side, the supply has also helped because the cost element of it
That's correct.
has gone down.
Right.
And then the interconnectivity of CCTV, remote monitoring, etc., all that has helped the CCTV adoption. So
Correct.
that is why again demand again has gone up.
That's correct. And there are policies also. Like a lot of now there are policies and mandates which has made CCTV installation of CCTV as a mandate in a lot of spaces.
Right.
Spaces where there are people, like hotels, for example. Right. I mean, it used to be as a good to have thing. Now it has become a must have because at any point of time law enforcement agencies can come to a hotel and say, give me the CCTV footage.
Right.
So they have to give the CCTV footage, right? So
Right.
these kind of things have also changed. Like policy level changes have also happened.
Absolutely. And Arijit, so I mean, of course, we understand what has changed in the last 5 years now. But next 5 years, man, what is new? What is exciting as far as CCTVs are concerned?
Yeah, so I think what is exciting is people will actually start not seeing CCTV infrastructure as a cost center, but a profit center.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Right now, CCTV, it's like you invest a certain amount of capex, and then every year you need to do some AMC. You call a guy that मेरा CCTV बंद हो गया, आके ठीक कर लो, internet खराब हो रहा है, whatever. So that's considered as a cost center. So now, tomorrow, CCTV we use as a profit center. Why? Because CCTVs will start giving you much more intelligence. They'll tell you, is your staff working properly or not? Productivity. CCTVs will tell you if there are people, if some customers are actually sitting in a space, let's say in a retail space or a coffee chain, if they're sitting in a space but not actually consuming anything from that space. So it will give you whether your the real estate utilization of your space is properly or not, right? So then it will also help you in terms of pilferage, reducing pilferage. It will help you in terms of marketing as well. For example, in a mall or in a shop, there is a lot of people are looking at a certain space. Probably a new iPhone has been launched, they're looking at that space. It will give you an indication of what sort of marketing works, what doesn't work.
Right.
You can do a lot more A/B testing. You can place your stuff from here to there, and from the CCTV, your footage will start. You'll start analyzing the footage. Tell you people have actually interacted with that new thing which you have launched or new placement you have done or not. So all of these things, so CCTV will encompass many more departments rather than just security. That's why the cost is still the same or reduced as we discussed before.
Right.
Now, but the usage will transcend to different departments. So each of them will start gathering more and more information, or making more and more decisions based on the CCTV data. So yeah, I
Right.
think that's one of the things which will change. Another thing which I personally believe will change is people will start using the footages more right now, because as human beings, we really love videos, right? Instagram,
Correct.
Netflix,
Correct.
Hotstar are like the biggest examples.
We are now a video first nation.
Video first nation, right?
Yeah.
Not just nation, globally. As a
Globally.
global, we are video first, like
Yeah.
YouTube, Instagram, wherever you see the video. But why don't you see your own videos? Your CCTV camera footage. If you're running a business which has physical setup. I'm not talking about the e-commerce digital
Of
setup.
course.
I'm talking physical setup. So if you're running a business which has a physical setup, why as a promoter or a leadership you don't want to see the videos? There's a reason, right? Because you feel it's boring.
Right.
It's boring. Why will I see
Most
that?
of the time, there's nothing happening.
There's nothing happening.
There's no movement.
There's no movement.
And I'm seeing what I really expect to see.
Yeah.
कि लोग काम कर रहे हैं, मेरा infrastructure वैसे ही है, वैसे ही है.
Correct. So now people have started what doing is they'll give you like kind of a story. Story at the end, day end story of what has happened, what are key movements that happened in the day. We've introduced this feature at Vogic that we will give the management a feature where they can just scroll and say violation cases, SOP compliance violation cases, and do a click. Within 1 minute, they'll see all the breaches that have happened in the day. So they now have started interacting more with the footage, not the raw footage, but the derivative of that raw footage. So a lot of action will start happening from just people streaming videos, doing a real-time streaming of videos, to like more innovative uses of those videos.
So Arijit, very interesting point you have made here, and I just want to double click on this, right? So from what I understand now is कि CCTV technology तो जैसे evolve हो रही है, right? उसमें भी थोड़े limitations हैं in the sense that there are only certain number of variables that can improve in a CCTV.
Yeah.
One could be like the quality of the footage, the FPS, or the transmission of it, etc., right? The technical things. But I think side by side, the evolvement in the VMS, right, in the usage of the video footage that is being captured, that also is the real space of innovation, right?
Absolutely.
Because as you mentioned, what you're doing at Vogic, and what other people in the market are also doing, is that the video that is being captured, there is so much more that can be done from that video.
Yeah.
Right. So do you think that if we have to sort of divide this into two parts, one is the CCTV, which is the hardware, and then VMS, which is the software, do you think that the software has a lot more scope, and especially from a security perspective, that it is still underutilized?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, see, right now, as I mentioned, people believe like a person who's watching unfortunately, in a command control room, they are considered to be unskilled laborers.
Right.
They are watching the footage, they are not putting a lot of brain in that. So it is, I mean, that's why this is what today's state is. People watching the videos are considered as like they're not doing a very intelligent kind of a job. Now, instead of that, if the person who's watching the video, he can then start finding out information. For example, give me all the times when this happened. Give me all the times when that happened. Tell me a scenario when this was happening, also that was happening. In camera 1 was showing this, camera 2 was showing this.
Yeah.
So now his job becomes more of a creativity job.
Right.
Like how ChatGPT, you don't need to be a developer, but you can still do a lot of things.
Absolutely.
You don't need to make. That's why you can ship products faster.
Right.
So in this world, these same guys who were previously considered as little dumb, boring jobs, considered those jobs, now because they have tools, the software will give them the power to unleash their creativity.
Right.
So in fact, the first product of Vogic, what we started off, is a search engine. Like how you have a search engine in Google, you type on and anything and everything will pop up based on the kind of prompt you're using.
Right.
In ChatGPT also you can search for stuff. Similarly, why can't you do the same with videos? You have tons and tons of videos. Can you start interacting with your videos? Can you ask different sort of questions to your videos? Can you start interacting with your videos? Because that is where the creativity would come. So those same people who were earlier considered doing a job which was kind of mundane, boring, repetitive, now they'll become more of product managers. Can you imagine they can start becoming product managers?
We have basically moved from plain simple information to more intelligence,
Right.
And that is definitely valued much more than just information. But Arijit, don't you think there's a challenge of in a nation like India where we are non-native English speakers? Are you also building something around vernacular languages, etc.?
Yeah, so that is a part where we. So if you look at a CCTV camera, right, just a CCTV camera, there are two ways. One is CCTV camera is capturing a video, and there's one aspect of data capture, and the second aspect of how are you interacting with the data. So the aspect of interacting with the data is easy because you can always convert during translations. You can transcribe, you can translate one form. If I put a query in English, the system can put a query in Hindi, the system can translate it into English, and then accordingly hit the database and extract information and then query it back again in Hindi.
Translation.
That's easy. That's no AI. This is easy. Easy. Where the trick would come is where CCTV, some of the CCTVs also have audio channels.
Exactly.
They give audio output as well. So right now, a lot of innovation, you're talking about CCTV innovation, right? I believe a lot of innovation should happen in two things. One is video compression. CCTVs today are sending a lot of videos, which is jamming the bandwidth, which in terms of processing, which takes a lot of computational horsepower. So a lot of customers, because of these computational overheads, they're not adopting the technology, even though they want to, because they don't have the budget to do the additional computing infrastructure investments. Right? So if there is the video can be compressed and then be sent, that's one thing which will be really helpful to the entire ecosystem. Secondly, if people can do a lot of stuff on the audio aspect of it, because the world is moving towards multimodal. Not only what you are seeing, but also what you are hearing.
Correct.
So, but a lot of CCTV cameras don't have the audio, and even if they have the audio kind of becomes blurred. I mean, not blurred, the counterpart of blurred. It becomes a lot of noise in the audio. You can't interpret a lot of things from that audio. So, some innovation I think should happen in that field, that from the hardware itself, some sort of denoising. Right. So, yeah, I think that's also one of the things where the CCTV innovation should happen.
Absolutely.
Last, but not the least, innovation would also, I would see a lot of innovation happening on processing at the edge. CCTV cameras today, there are cameras which do ANPR, for example, number plate recognition. They recognize the parking lots, right? There are cameras which do facial recognition. There are cameras which do object detection. But then these cameras are meant to do only those things. Same camera, if you ask it to do ANPR as well as facial recognition, it will not happen. Or it will be very expensive camera. There's a simple reason behind it. Because of the small form factor of the CCTV, it cannot have a lot of GPU or a lot of battery. Right? So a lot of electricity and GPU. So it is trained to do a smaller GPU, which is only trained to do one kind of definite task and not multiple. That's why people take the videos out from the camera and do all the processing on the server. Because the server you can expand. A server can be used for multiple things. So I think the third level of innovation that will be happening in the cameras is the computational power inside the cameras will increase. So today, if you look at I'm talking about ballpark stats, but if there are 100 CCTVs at any point of time, only one or two will have an intelligence at the camera level itself, at least in India. Going forward, a lot of these cameras will have inbuilt intelligence at the camera level itself.
Very interesting.
That's another thought process
very interesting. And again, since we are on the security talk show, right? So we'll talk more about security as a use case and as an industry. So with all these innovations, do you think that the private security industry will be far more open to adopting such technologies? Because from what we know today, there is a lot of resistance with regards to technology adoption in the industry, because of course a lot of private security agencies, private security providers still work on a headcount-led model, right? And any technology coming in means that their headcount has to go down. What do you have to say on that?
So I think you're giving the example of private security. Great. I'll talk you a bigger example. Consider the likes of TCS of the world. Consider like the Infosys of the world, the HCL and Capgemini of the world. They also do in the same space. the same model itself. They charge their clients
Correct.
built on FT, full-time equivalents.
Absolutely.
So they, sooner than later, Accenture, for example, they have already started billing clients based on the number of API calls. Not the number of people, but the number of API calls. Like a similar paradigm shift will start happening, and people who lag behind will lose the race. Like I have people if TCS does not catch up with what Accenture is doing, soon TCS market share will take a massive hit. Right? TCS.
So you see that happening for private security providers as well?
As well, yes, because the shift has already started happening outside India.
So in a way, you are saying that tech integration is inevitable in the private security industry.
Absolutely. I mean, either they will see two things will happen. They will either not grow, but be where they are today. I mean, if you have a good relationship with the client might still trust you for the next couple of years till this becomes technology integration of PSA with PS private security. This will become a mandate or kind of a mainstream stuff.
And plus, decision makers also keep changing. Right?
Decision makers also
trust and that relationship can only get you so far.
Right. So I mean, either you can be same. You cannot grow for sure. Right? I'm sure that you cannot grow. You can be at par of what you are doing today, status quo maintenance. But I also think that's also very difficult because there will be somebody who will come and say that I will do the same job with more. Like I have my system never sleeps. That's the pitch. That's the pitch. Your guards can sleep, right? Because they are human beings. At the end of the day, they are human beings. Absolutely. But my system does not sleep. Right. You give it electricity and give it internet, it will never sleep. And over time, the system will become better. Right. Your guards, will they become better? Question mark. They might or might not. Because there is a churn.
Of course. Then there is a cost of making them better also. Are you willing to make that investment?
Right.
And the client is not ready to pay you for that.
Correct. So will you invest in upskilling them? Right. So I think but it has to be a fine balance because at the end of the day, I'll tell you a very interesting use case. So we are working with the smart city Varanasi, and there I spoke with the law enforcement, the head, the police head there. So he said that technology is great, but at the same time human beings I have to be there in the loop. Human in the loop is human in the loop. That concept has to be there. For example, if the technology pops out and shows me in the command control center that somebody has parked his vehicle illegally or like in the wrong side, and that's why there's a lot of crowding that has happened. But if I don't have a human being nearby to communicate the information and send it so that he can change this, what will I do?
There has to be a human-based response.
Human-based response. The response always has to be human-based.
Absolutely.
The detection will be technology, but the response has to be human-based. So what I believe is that jobs will not go away. It's just that they'll be doing a different job.
Okay.
Right, because the security guard who today in my society who just keeps on roaming, just checking what is happening, instead of that, if he gets access to a mobile phone and if he starts and seeing everything and starts interacting, कि ये Zomato वाला बंदा कब आया था? ये Zomato वाला बंदा इस कंप्लेन किया, किसने कंप्लेन किया? Zomato वाले बाइक ने तो बाइक उल्टी साइड लगा दी. How does he find out? Today he has no way to find out. He will, I will call him. He will say कि भैया सर मैं जाके कमांड रूम में जाता हूँ देख के आता हूँ. He cannot go.
He can't leave his post.
So what happens? I asked him a question. He has genuine intent to solve my problem because I know that guy. Like I can't know everyone in the field, but I know that guy because he stays. So he said कि भैया मैं जो solve करना है, but he's helpless. He cannot leave his post. But imagine now he has a tool where in his phone, he's very used to his phone. He sees videos. I can see he sees videos on his phone. He interacts with WhatsApp. So in his WhatsApp, if he can send a query. Like कि Zomato का बंदा in his language, we are talking about multi-language vernacular, right? In his language, to that extent, audio also, audio response कि Zomato का बंदा इस गेट के बाहर कब दिखा था, उसका मुझे last 3 मिनट का footage दिखा दीजिए. So if he just says that, types it out, and the system fetches that information, understands what he's trying to say. Of course, that's the large language model part of the stuff. They understand what he's trying to say, and then fetches back the videos. So now he can respond to me much faster.
Of course.
So his delivery. He's solving a problem. He's not just there, and potentially because he's solving a problem, he might charge a command a higher remuneration as well.
Yeah. So that is where I think, and this is what I have been very vocal about, is that any new technology which is coming into the industry has to be accompanied with business model innovation. It cannot really just fit into the traditional ways of working, right? But at the same time, it is also very important to know that all is not dark. All is not black. The future is still bright because as you said, right, it is all about striking that fine balance.
Yeah.
And then charging a little higher premium for the better services that you will be able to provide, right?
And that's the thing is, you talked about upskilling, right?
Yeah.
So now, if you can charge a higher margin from a customer, right, because of the value-added services you are giving to him or her or whoever the entity is, you can use that some of that margin to train your guys,
Of course,
to do a more creative job. And I can tell you, there are lots of creative stuff the guards can do, or the people who are actually manning the post, if they have tools to do it.
right.
They today they don't have tools beyond playback. Beyond playback, they don't have tools. So if they have, imagine if they have tools, they are looking at everything. They're looking at physical movement, and they're also looking at this data. They can do a lot of stuff, which, I mean, it's unimaginable. Because till now, I mean, if you don't give somebody an aeroplane, if Wright brothers had to invent an aeroplane, right, so that people could fly. Otherwise, everyone wanted to have a
horse.
Yeah, a horse. I mean, everyone wanted to move from one place to another place fast.
Correct.
That was the goal.
Correct.
Everyone wants to move. So in this case, the objective is everyone wants to lead a life of convenience, a secure life, a safe life. Then they're okay to pay a little more. But then if you show them that this is where, if you just start saying that, hey, inflation has increased, my guard salary will increase, that's why you increase. I mean, people can be generous enough to do that, but typically it's a cutthroat world.
Absolutely.
People will not be justified as to why you're asking for it.
And then even if you are able to extract that, whatever inflation worthy of increase, you are still not really grown in
you just at par.
Just stagnated.
Yeah,
right?
at par.
Right. So Arijit, we have had a wonderful detailed discussion around, CCTV as an industry, या as a value component in the security industry, क्या रोल प्ले करने वाला है आगे चल के, उसका जो सॉफ्टवेयर कंपोनेंट है जिसको हम VMS भी बोलते हैं, उस पर क्या क्या चीजें बिल्ड हो सकती हैं या ऑलरेडी जो बिल्ड भी हो चुकी हैं, एंड हाउ टेक्नोलॉजी को जो इंटीग्रेट नहीं कर रहा, द बेस्ट केस फॉर देम इज स्टैग्नेशन, which in fact is the worst case. Right? अगर आप ग्रो नहीं कर रहे हैं तो you are losing out to your competition.
Correct.
तो अब आपकी कंपनी के बारे में बात करते हैं, अरिजीत. What are you guys up to at Vogic AI with respect to security as a use case?
Sure. See, I told you when I started that my goal was to make videos searchable.
Right.
Security footage is searchable, and security footage because they have the highest amount of videos. मैं YouTube पर एडिट searchable की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ, मैं CCTV cameras की बात. CCTV cameras security का ही डेटा सोर्स है. तो उन डेटा को सर्चेबल कैसे बनाया जा सकता है? How can you start querying that data? उससे सवाल जवाब कैसे पूछ सकते हो, उससे बेस पे आंसर आ सकता है. इससे ये हमने शुरू किया था. सो विद कस्टमर्स अगेन, जब बोला प्राइस पॉइंट है, इससे कंपटीशन ज्यादा चाहिए होता है. सो ओवर पीरियड ऑफ टाइम वी नाउ बिल्ट मॉड्यूल्स which work perfectly with security systems, security agencies, where they don't have the capacity to install so many foot soldiers or guards, or they want to make their guards and foot soldiers more action oriented.
Right.
I'll give you examples, right? So you're working with one of the biggest logistics players in the country. तो उनका क्या है, they have 3,500 last mile logistics centers in remote places also.
ठीक है.
To an extent where they can't employ a guard. The lot of these places they can't employ a guard 24/7. तो अब वहाँ पे लास्ट माइल logistics centers में आजकल बहुत महंगे सामान भी रहते हैं.
Right.
आपका आईफोन रह रहा है, आईपैड रह रहा है, टीवी रह रहा है. तो बहुत बार ऐसी जगह पे लोग चोरी हो जाती है. कुछ लोग ऐसे आफ्टर गेटिंग ड्रंक दे स्टार्ट लाइक कुछ हल्ला करते, something wrong.
Right.
So now they already had CCTVs, but they did not have enough manpower also in their command and control center to watch all those 3,500 cameras. 3,500 multiplied by 2. There are 2 cameras. 7,000 cameras. 7,000 करने के लिए उनके पास नहीं थे, लोग नहीं है. तो उन्होंने साहब बोला था हमारे पास लोग नहीं है, तो हमने ना कुछ अपने पॉकेट्स बना लिए कि हमें पता है कि इस एरिया में ज्यादा चोरियां होती है या इससे ज्यादा थेफ्ट का बात है, तो हम उन्हीं को देखेंगे.
Okay.
बाकी में हो रहा है पता नहीं, अगले दिन आता है, फिर हम देखते हैं बहुत सारी चीजें.
Unless the heat map changes to show कि भैया कोई और एरिया ऐसा हो गया जहाँ पर ज्यादा चोरी,
और वो भी इससे नहीं पता चल रहा, वो कहीं और इन्फॉर्मेशन से ऑपरेशंस टीम भेजेगा, कोई और टीम भेजेगा.
And at that point in time आपका लॉस ऑलरेडी बुक हो चुका है, तभी आपको पता चल रहा है.
एब्सोल्युटली. तो उसके लिए बिल्ड एंड बट दे वर आल्सो वेरी कॉस्ट कॉन्शियस. बोला कि हम गार्ड नहीं लगाते, उसका एक रीजन है. इट्स नॉट जस्ट कैसे मिलते नहीं, लोग तो मिल जाते हैं, बट हमें वो 15,000 18,000 गार्ड का देना हमें चुभता है.
करेक्ट,
हमारा वो जो हमारा उनका जो भी whatever business model structure, they could not afford that in terms of whatever that is their own internal KPIs.
ठीक है.
So what can you do for us? So we've built a very very simple solution for them. Now ये जो CCTV cameras है, most of the CCTV cameras give motion alerts.
राइट,
मोशन जब भी होता है वो डेटा यू कैन कॉन्फ़िगर सीसीटीवी कि जब भी मोशन हो, मोशन किसी का भी हो सकता है, इंसान का, चूहा का, बिल्ली का, डॉग का, इनफैक्ट पत्ते हिलने का भी,
राइट,
ठीक है, पत्ते हिलने का भी मोशन हो सकता है, लाइट फ्लिकरिंग का भी मोशन हो सकता है, बिकॉज मोशन इज एट द एंड ऑफ द डे 2 पिक्सल यदि चेंज हो रहा है तो इंटेंसिटी, तो उसको मोशन कहते हैं. तो हम क्या कर रहे हैं, मोशन सीसीटीवी खुद ही जनरेट करता है, तो मोशन बेस्ड वो बस इमेज भेज रहा है मुझे, एक जिफ टाइप का भेज रहा है, एक 3 इमेजेस भेज रहे, उसके बेसिस पे हम बता रहे कोई वहां पे कुछ एक्टिविटी हो रही है. एक्टिविटी मतलब कोई भी बंदा रात को, उसने टाइम डिफाइन कर रहे हैं कि मुझे देखना है रात के 10 बजे से लेकर सुबह के 6 बजे तक, उसमें इस टाइप की चीजें नहीं होनी चाहिए. फॉर एग्जाम्पल 2 से ज्यादा लोग खड़े नहीं होने चाहिए, वहां पे ऐसा होना चाहिए कि कोई वहां पे दरवाजा खोलना नहीं चाहिए.
राइट,
तो अब क्या कर रहे हैं, अब ये एक तो है डिटेक्ट करना, जो मैं पहले आपको बताया डिटेक्ट हो गया, फिर डिटेक्ट करने के बाद चोर भागेगा थोड़ी,
बिल्कुल,
तो डिटेक्ट, चोर को तो पता भी नहीं चला क्यों डिटेक्ट हुआ है, आपकी कमांड सेंटर किसको पता चला, अब वो भी पता चला, मान लो वो हो रही है चोरी असम में या नॉर्थ ईस्ट में कहीं पे, आपका कमांड सेंटर है दिल्ली में, तो क्या करेगा वहां से? It doesn't make sense, right? Even if you get to know, in fact, it is more helpless, right? You get it,
आप देख
रहे हो कि आप कुछ कर नहीं सकते. So what do? What is the next level? So the next level is we installed a loudspeaker also. So which means which will get auto activated based on the alert, the kind of alert, the configuration of the alert, and उसके लोकल लैंग्वेज में बोलेगा कि आप कैमरा के निगरानी में है, आप कुछ गलत करने वाले हैं, कुछ एसएमएस पे एसएमएस, बंगाली में तो बंगाली में बोलेगा, बंगाली में तो बंगाली में बोलेगा, कुछ गलत करने वाले आप प्लीज यहाँ से निकल जाइए.
राइट. सो बेसिकली फॉर आवर व्यूअर्स दिस इज नोन एज अ टॉप डाउन.
Okay.
In the industry,
Yeah.
It is like a automated talk down or maybe AI powered talk down also,
right.
You can say.
Right.
Yes,
तो ये बजा, उसके बाद भी हो सकता नहीं जाए, फिर क्या, फिर then there is an integration to the nearest police station as well. उनके पास भी कॉल चली जाती है,
राइट,
कि now वो एक्शन ले, so they are the first respondents there. So if the police now get to know कि मुझे, और उनको पूरा लोकेशन के साथ उनके पास आ जाता है मैसेज कि, और वो भी पुलिस स्टेशन भी ऐसा है कि पर्टिकुलर पुलिस स्टेशन मैप टू पर्टिकुलर एरियाज. तो आपका जो सेंटर, जो आपका लास्ट में डिस्ट्रिक्ट सेंटर की बात कर रहा हूँ, वो जिसका नियरेस्ट पुलिस स्टेशन जो है उसका जियोग्राफिकली ऑन रडार वाइज, उसके पास ही जाती है कॉल, ऐसा नहीं सबके पास जा रही है, उसके पास कॉल जाती है, उसके पास एक स्नैपशॉट जाती है, देखिए यहाँ पे चोरी हो रहा है, लोकेशन जाता है, so that he can take a first respondent action. So that is why you close the entire loop, right? So एक तो ये कर रहे हैं हम, दूसरा हम एक अलार्म मॉनिटरिंग सेंटर के साथ काम कर रहे हैं. ये इंडिया के बाहर की कंपनी है, स्विट्जरलैंड में. So what they do is, उनके पास जो आपके यार्ड्स होते हैं, मर्सिडीज के, BMW के, किसी भी गाड़ियों के, ऑटोमेक में ज्यादा काम करे हो, they have about 300 yards जिनका फुटेज इनके पास आता है.
Okay.
और इनके पास बंदे बैठे हुए देखने के लिए. नाउ तो बंदे जो है उनके पास बहुत सारे फॉल्स अलार्म्स आते हैं, कि अलार्म्स आते, एक तो आपके बंदे के पास अलार्म्स आ रहे हैं, बट बहुत फॉल्स अलार्म्स आते हैं, जैसे मतलब पत्ता हिलने से भी अलार्म आता है. सो हाउ कैन यू बिल्ड अ लेयर which will filter out the alarms and only give you the alarms which are relevant and assign a priority score to that alarm.
Right.
So now that is how कि आपके पास यदि 100 alarms है, with our technology 96% of the alarms get filtered out.
Okay.
तो आपके पास 4 ही alarms आ रहे हैं.
Okay.
तो 4 अलार्म्स आ रहे हैं, उन चारों अलार्म्स का भी प्रायोरिटी असाइन कर रहे हैं.
Okay.
कि मतलब ये कोई बंदा दिख रहा है, ये बंदा यदि उसकी एक्टिविटी क्या हो रही है, वो क्या वहां पे कुछ तोड़ने की कोशिश कर रहा है, उसका हैंड मूवमेंट जेस्चर से कुछ करने की कोशिश कर रहा है, या जस्ट वो सिगरेट पी रहा है, ऐसा भी हो सकता है वो यार्ड के बाहर जाकर बस सिगरेट पी रहा है. That's also an alarm. As per the protocol, if somebody trespasses that property, that's an illegal thing. So you will still get an alarm. It doesn't get filtered out, but there's a priority assigned to that alarm. So instead, I mean, it might be a priority 2 alarm. Versus the priority 5 alarm is when somebody is actually trying to make an action.
Where you need to respond immediately and decisively.
Correct. So that's another layer of intelligence we're building for them. So now, and the use cases, they want to address, I mean, they want to onboard more customers with the same headcount. So now the revenue per headcount, एक इंसान जो है मॉनिटर कर रहा था, अब वो मल्टीपल कैमरास मॉनिटर कर पा रहे, क्योंकि उसके पास अलार्म्स फालतू चीज तो आ ही नहीं रहे.
Absolutely.
तो अब that's why they are gaining much more.
Yeah, revenue per person goes up.
Revenue per person goes
because
up.
It is linked to the cameras that they are monitoring, which is linked to the customers that they have.
Correct. Absolutely. And this is, I mean, that's where we did the ROI analysis कि हमारे टेक्नोलॉजी में कितने पैसे लगेंगे versus उनको पैसे बनेंगे कितने.
तो अरिजीत, कैन यू प्लीज जस्ट क्वांटिफाई दिस इफ यू कैन, राइट, कि अगर कोई भी आपका सर्विस लेता है या कोई एक सिमिलर सर्विस भी लेता है तो क्या कॉस्ट बेनिफिट एनालिसिस एंड हाउ इज इट इन देयर फेवर?
राइट. सो एक तो है आपका कॉस्ट बेनिफिट एनालिसिस व्हिच इज टैंजिबल एंड एक इंटेंजिबल है. मैं दोनों पे आई टच अपॉन बोथ. बिल्कुल. एक टैंजिबल तो ये है कि जैसे मैं अभी आपको बता रहा था कि एक बंदा मल्टीपल चीज देख सकता है, तो ऑब्वियसली आप मोर कस्टमर्स आप एम्प्लॉय करोगे, सैलरी तो एक ही बंदे की देनी पड़ रही है. सो इफ वन गाय वाज डूइंग 8 cameras previously, now he can do 16 cameras. So his efficiency is increased by 100%. You can get 2 customers now. तो आपका profitability ऐसे बढ़ जाएगा. That is one way.
बट अरिजीत, उसमें जैसे प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी इंक्रीज होगी, आई एग्री, बट इट विल नॉट इंक्रीज 1 to 1 बिकॉज़ आई हैव टू पे सम कॉस्ट फॉर योर सर्विसेज.
या एब्सोल्युटली.
तो वो जो मेरा एक कॉस्ट ऑफ सर्विसिंग जिसको बोलते हैं, दैट विल आल्सो गो अप. बट यू आर सेइंग दैट द बेनिफिट दैट कम्स, लेट्स से इफ आई वाज मेकिंग 100 rupees per customer, and now I have the capability to onboard one more customer with the same number of people that I have. Right. Let's say I get 100 rupees more. So the cost of servicing that additional 100 rupee would be how much in percentage terms?
So see, I'll tell you very basic maths which most customers expect from any vendor. In fact, they expect from the employees also. I also expect from some of my colleagues here that if the compensation is X, you are giving a benefit of 10x. Right? X to 10x का benefit तो ये तो चलता ही है मार्केट में. तो ये X to 10x तो हमारे लिए है ही है. मतलब if let's say this customer was previously he was getting one customer, उसके end customer, my security company is my customer, his end customer, he was able to serve one customer with this one employee. Now he's able to serve 2 customers. Now his top line has increased 100%.
Yes.
But then his bottom line will not increase 100% because we have to also give some value.
10%. Right?
10% of that 100%.
Yeah. So it will more or less increase 90%.
Correct. Right. Secondly, the things you are preventing from happening. So you can assign some sort of monetary value to the something which otherwise would have happened.
Correct.
And there are customers who look at it from more of a long term perspective. जो long term perspective पे देखते हैं, they can decrease their total cost of operations in the long term. If you have a 3-year or 5-year horizon looking at how, वो बोलते हैं कि मुझे सारी प्रोसेसिंग क्लाउड पे नहीं चाहिए, आपसे नहीं चाहिए, मैं अपना खुद का सर्वर खरीदूं.
Okay.
मैं अपना इन्वेस्टमेंट कर रहा हूँ सर्वर, बिकॉज एज आई टोल्ड यू प्रीवियसली कि ये सारा प्रोसेसिंग करने के लिए आपको कंप्यूटेशनल पावर चाहिए, विच आर नथिंग बट जीपीयूज. तो आपको वो खरीदना है, वो महंगे आते हैं. राइट. तो वो खरीदने के लिए आपको कोई बोलता है बंदा कि इधर एक ऑप्शन है कि मैं वो सेम एनवीडिया के साथ एडब्ल्यूएस के पास भी है, तो इधर मैं क्लाउड पे जाके प्रोसेसिंग करूं जिसमें मेरी ओपेक्स कैपेक्स कुछ नहीं होगा लिटरली, बट ओपेक्स ज्यादा होगा एज कंपेयर टू मैं बोलूं कि मैं खुद ही सर्वर खरीद ले रहा हूं. सम ऑफ आवर कस्टमर्स लाइक बिग लॉजिस्टिक्स कंपनीज वी वर्क विद, दे से कि यार हमें खुद का सर्वर खरीद लेंगे, हमारे कमांड डेटा सेंटर में मतलब हम लगा लेंगे, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. दे आर रेडी टू कैपेक्स विद अ लोअर ओपेक्स. Right. So, at the end of 5 years, people who are doing this capex plus opex model, their TCO at the total cost of operations at the end of 5 years is lower.
Okay.
As compared to somebody who is doing only opex. Okay. Only opex. Okay. But again, those are what I'm saying. This is an exception. Norm is people typically want to have an opex model.
Yeah, but because somebody who's investing in capex, they are taking on some additional risk as well.
Yeah.
Right? So you must factor that also in the equation, that let's say if there's a fire on your property,
right,
your server gets destroyed,
right,
then you end up losing data.
Correct.
At the same time, there are of course cons to all OPEX also, right? If there are data breaches,
right,
to your cloud provider.
Right,
so
right.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, it all comes down to what you want and at what cost do you really want it.
Right. And also, like, see, a lot of times what the customers do is the chief security officer, he needs to prove some value in the short run, so that he can also get a higher budget.
Yeah.
So that's where initially start an OPEX, because उसमें ज़्यादा budget चाहिए नहीं,
right,
and then you move on to a CAPEX plus OPEX model. OPEX model. If you have, I mean, but as you mentioned, CAPEX पूरा सर्वर मेरे पास पैसे भी है, right? मेरे पास as a company मेरे पास पैसे भी सर्विस खरीदने के, मुझे मैन पावर भी चाहिए.
मैन पावर चाहिए,
उसको बिजली चाहिए, कूलिंग चाहिए,
रियल एस्टेट चाहिए.
हाँ, रियल एस्टेट चाहिए, मैन पावर चाहिए उसको मेंटेन करके रखने के लिए, उसके अपडेट्स करने के लिए, उसकी कूलिंग चाहिए,
उसकी सिक्योरिटी के लिए मुझे
कोई चाहिए. So there are a lot of these like different other aspects which are not obvious, But if you're looking at an execution perspective, you also consider that.
And one last question there, Arijit, is that, with respect to now the DPDP Act coming in,
Yeah.
and the long existing GDPR, right? Let's say if there is a SOC which is in India where the data is coming from outside of India or the other way around, right? So with so much data now being generated, audio visual in nature, as you said, right? Demand for CCTVs is going to increase many fold, right? And the granularity of data that we are now going to receive is also going to sort of expand like anything,
Right.
So in that respect, do you think data protection, data security is going to assume much more prominence than what it is at today?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm 100% aligned on that. For example, we have recently pitched something to the education ministry where digital classroom attendance, like not a biometric based tablet based attendance, but with CCTV cameras, people's attendance will get automatically tracked. The students who are coming in, their attendance will automatically track. And with the bigger goal that we can predict who's going to drop out. Because that's one of the biggest problems with the primary education sector in India. People enroll for it, like kids enroll for it for ABCD reasons, including not limited to free food, free midday meal. So, but there is a lot of dropout rate. So how do you predict dropouts based on attendance patterns? So for that you need to capture attendance and immutable attendance, not a paper pen जो कि हिला सकते हो. So there one of the biggest concerns is a lot of these primary education, these children are minors. So if you are doing it the attendance, you are capturing their face. So capturing their face without consent from their parents. How do you do that? First, if you are capturing their face, so DPDP says two things. A, consent. Consent is very extremely important. B is you should not be storing personally identified information. PID नहीं store कर सकते आप. तो इसके लिए आप क्या कर सकते हैं? तो हमें ये problem statement हमारे पास आया. तो हमने क्या किया? I'll tell you a little bit. तो जो facial recognition से attendance होता है, तो उसमें हमने क्या किया है? Whenever a face is detected by the camera, my system automatically converts that face into a hash code, which is sort of a QR code. आप मान लो आपके मतलब नॉर्मल विजुअलाइजेशन के लिए QR कोड बन गया. वो एक उसको देख के समझ में आया किसका वो पीछे मनन है, अरिजीत है, nobody knows, right? So now that hash code is matched with the hash code of database of hash codes. Right. Each hash code corresponds to a person or a children. मनन, अरिजीत, निखिल, राहुल, whoever. उनका जब ऑनबोर्डिंग हुआ था सिस्टम में, तब भी उनका फोटो कैप्चर किया गया, उनका हैश कोड बनाया गया, उसका नाम दिया गया, बट फोटो गायब हो गया. So it was only there till the time the hash code was generated. तो हैश कोड जनरेट हुआ. अब हैश कोड के पीछे नाम है, ठीक है, हैश कोड के पीछे नाम है, तो ये तो डेटाबेस बन गई सबकी कौन बच्चे होने चाहिए. अब जो घुस रहा है उसका अगेन हैश कोड बनता है रियल टाइम पे. उसकी फोटो ली गई, हैश कोड बना, हैश कोड को कंपेयर किया गया और हैश कोड से जहां पे भी 99.9% से ऊपर सिमिलैरिटी मैच आया, तो उसको बोल दिया उसका नाम क्या है. So that is where we have circumvented it's not circumvented, it's actually very legitimate way to address the DPDP issue. That is one. Secondly, our consent का point है. तो consent का point है, absolutely right. Again, I believe consent एक तो पेपर पेन से लिखवा लो, दूसरा आपका है कि लोगों को बताओ इससे फायदा क्या हो रहा है, एंड देन टेक अ कंसेंट. कि जैसे for example, that's what we pitched to but this also requires a lot of policy level stuff. Not only as technology providers we can't we can always give suggestions, but there's policy level things also. So we've told them कि आप WhatsApp based workflow करो. बच्चा ऑन बोर्ड हुआ, बच्चे एक WhatsApp मैसेज भेजो बच्चे को, पेरेंट को, कि क्या आप जानना चाहते हैं आपका बच्चा सही से पढ़ाई कर रहा है या नहीं, कौन से क्लासेस में पढ़ाई कर रहा है, आ रहा है या नहीं स्कूल में, आप जानना है तो आप यहाँ पे टिक कर दीजिए, हम आपके बच्चे का अटेंडेंस ट्रैक करेंगे उसकी शक्ल के बेसिस पे. समथिंग लाइक दिस, समथिंग व्हिच इज बिकॉज़ यू आर शोइंग देम फर्स्ट द वैल्यू, यू आर शोइंग द पेरेंट द वैल्यू, देन आस्किंग फॉर हिज कंसेंट, इंस्टेड ऑफ सेइंग कि आप यहाँ पे ये बहुत लीगल टर्मिनोलॉजी में लिख दो, आप यहाँ पे साइन कर दीजिए, फिर तो जबरदस्ती वाली बात होगी. तो यहाँ पे इफ यू आर शोइंग देम वैल्यू, इससे क्या फायदा होगा, एंड टेकिंग कंसेंट, देन या एब्सोल्युटली व्हाई नॉट.
So ultimately, Arijit, it all boils down to how effectively the value proposition is conveyed, right, to the end users.
Yes.
Because only when they see the benefit, they will be willing to bear that cost, which in fact is not really a cost but an investment.
Yeah, correct.
Right?
Correct.
So I think that's the perfect note for us to wrap up this conversation with Arijit. Thanks a lot for speaking with us. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. Yeah.